Good morning. Let us begin quietly, as if we had just come into a room where the chairs are already set and the light is soft. Most of us have lived with a simple hope. The next deposit, the next client, the next approval will settle the heart. You know the one. When that check clears, I'll breathe. When this project lands, I'll sleep. But notice, please, in the honesty of your own experience, it seldom does. Peace arrives, as it were, for a minute and then slips out the side door. We step into a fuller pantry and still inventory tomorrow's lack. We cross one finish line and immediately draw the line for the next race. If money were supply, peace would ride into your home on every deposit slip. I speak this gently because I have watched it in myself. Years ago, I believed a certain fee would still the agitation. It didn't. The account balance rose, but the 2 a.m. visitor stayed, the visitor called fear. In other words, fear did not check my balance. Fear checked my consent to an invisible government. Therefore, let us begin with what will offend the sense test. Money is a form. It is not supply. It is the fruit that appears and disappears. Supply is something else. Supply is that which sustains and governs, even when the visible seems to ebb. How do I know? Because if money was supply, fear would vanish the moment money appeared. But fear survives in the presence of money. Therefore, money cannot be the thing we seek. Do you remember the Master's word? Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as the world giveth, not as interest accrues, not as approvals are stamped. A different order, a different government, inner, steady, not for sale. And again, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. In other words, first the invisible, then the necessary forms. We are not here to chase forms. We are not here to promise anyone riches or to dazzle the mind with techniques. We are here to practice a simple 7-minute contact with the presence that outlives every figure on a statement. That contact, not argument, dissolves fear and restores inner government. It does not hypnotize the mind. It frees the mind from its self-hypnosis. Please understand your role in this hour. You are not asked to believe me. You are not asked to strain. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Sit with a willingness to test a principle and to observe a shift in consciousness. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good, the psalmist said. Taste, not debate it, not postpone it until conditions improve. We will sit together and make the contact. We will not demand a sign. We will consent to presence. You may not at first be able to describe what occurs. Don't try. Let the principle take root in you. If peace doesn't reliably come with money, then money cannot be the supply you are seeking. Let that settle without argument. We are not discarding money. We are putting it in its place as effect, not cause, as fruit, not tree. For today, allow this one reorientation to open within. I do not live by bread alone, nor by bills paid or unpaid, but by every word, every living impulse of presence moving as the I within me. As that becomes more than language, when it becomes felt reality, you will find the heart losing its obedience to the world's drum. Then, whether deposits increase or decrease for a moment, peace no longer slips out the side door. It abides, and forms follow in due season. Now let us take up the principle that offends the sense test. It will not flatter the eyes. It will not satisfy the habit that says, show me the check and I will believe. Money isn't supply. I is supply. I embody supply. What is meant by that? Not Joel, not Mary, not the personality, not the ego that is anxious or proud. The I is the presence that announced itself to Moses. I am that I am. The Master spoke from it when he said, I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. In other words, supply is not a thing you get. It is the indwelling presence that unfolds as things when needed. That is why supply cannot be depleted, cannot be delayed by panic, cannot be threatened by statistics. If it can be counted away, it is not supply. It is a format of supply. If it comes and goes with moods and markets, it is not the life of supply. It is fruit on a limb, here for a season. Supply is the life of the tree. Please do not, in this moment, try to believe it. Just refrain from denying it. Sit with it. You are left with the principle, and the principle has to take root in you. If the I that I am is supply, then I am not at the mercy of forms. If I rely on forms, I am at their mercy. Do you see the difference? When the bill arrives, if you say, my supply is in money, the government of your life is turned over to the bill, to the clerk, to the date on the notice. But if, even trembling, you return within and acknowledge, Father, thou art my sufficiency in all things. You have brought yourself under another government. The kingdom of God is within you. As that is felt even faintly, you will watch forms appear in due season. Ideas, adjustments, checks, cancellations, openings, a word in season from a friend. But the peace will have preceded them, proving that the life was never in the form. What then is our posture when bills are due? We do not deny the bill. We deny its claim to be our source or our sentence. We take the paper in hand and we turn within. I don't know how this will be met. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. Do not be ashamed to say that. That humility is your freedom from outlining. It is your confession that the I knows its own ways while the mind does not. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In other words, cease laying out blueprints for God. Don't try to engineer grace. Consent to it. Let the way appear as the way appears. This, too, will offend the sense test because the mind wants timelines and names. It says, who will pay me? When will the transfer land? You may not be given the name today or the time. You may only be given the inner release that says, I is supply. I embody supply. Forms will take care of themselves in their order. That is not passivity. That is government. From that inner government, you will find yourself moving in right ways, making a call, reconciling a ledger, selling a thing you no longer need, meeting a person you were meant to meet without fear's whip on your back. And if for a moment you are asked to wait, you will wait with the one who is your bread. Give us this day our daily bread. Daily. Not as a hoard. Not as a guarantee that flatters fear, but as the steady appearing of that which already is. Hear this and let it rest. Supply is not coming to you. Supply is coming out from you, from the I that is the life of your being. When you are consciously one with that I, you have placed yourself where the loaves multiply. where nets fill without night's toil, where the needed coin appears in a fish's mouth, not to dazzle, but to demonstrate order. Don't try, live it, exemplify it. Begin with the honest humility, I don't know how. End with a quiet certainty, I know who. And in that knowing, the forms will be added, not as masters, but as servants. Let me give you a picture that will do more work in you than a dozen arguments. Imagine an orange tree in full sun. You stand there, eyes on the branches, counting. 1, 2, 3, 31. You move to the next limb and start again. Will your counting yield a single additional orange? Will anxiety about the harvest sweeten one drop of juice? You know the answer. While you count, the invisible supply is going on. Root drawing, sap rising, leaf serving, sunlight transmuted into sweetness. What you can see is fruit. What you must trust is life. In other words, money is fruit. Presence is life. The oranges are not the cause. The unseen life is the only cause of fruit. Now, move that picture into your modern practice. You sit at a table with 3 screens open, account balances here, job boards there, forecasts in the corner. Refresh, compare, tweak a column, add a resume word, remove it. Does any of that, in and of itself, create life? It may arrange fruit. It does not produce it. Counting oranges is not the same as tending the tree. Refreshing a page is not the same as returning to presence. We have confused information with supply and activity with assurance. Assurance is not a spreadsheet. Assurance is an inner realization. Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy and hope that I am God. Be still and know. I do not say, stop looking at your accounts. No. The farmer does not stop visiting the grove. He simply knows where the causation is. He doesn't tape oranges to barren branches. He tends the root, knowing that if root and life are sound, fruit must appear in its season. I am the vine, ye are the branches, the Master said. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. Abide precedes increase. Contact precedes appearance. In other words, we do not create supply by staring at the limbs of life. We consent to life, and life appears as supply. Look closely at our habit. We think that if we keep vigil by the branch, if we hover over balances, if we patrol the inbox, somehow fruit will be forced. But the tree is not moved by our staring. The life moves by its own law, its own rhythm. Your 7 minutes of contact are not a technique to squeeze sap or to hasten blossom. They are a consent to be consciously rooted in the life that is already at work. They bring you under government, and then, without strain, the right fruit appears. An idea that simplifies an expense. A conversation that opens employment. The sale of a thing you no longer need. The forgiveness of a debt you didn't know could be forgiven. But the appearing is the effect. The cause is your abiding. Consider the lilies. The Master invited not as poetry, but as instruction. They toil not, neither do they spin, and yet even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. The lily does not produce its raiment by counting petals, nor by envying the next flower bed. Its life is its arraying. So with you, when fear says, count again, compare again, answer it with the principle, I is supply. I am body supply. If I stay at the root, the limb will bear. If I abide in the presence, the day will reveal its bread. You may say, yes, but my limb looks thin. I know that. I have seen thin limbs on my own tree. I have stood there, foolishly, pulling at buds as if to hurry bloom. And then, at last, I have sat down in the grove and turned within. Father, I don't know how this limb will fill. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. But I know thou art the life of this tree. That is the end of hypnotism. That is the beginning of grace. In that stillness, assurance comes first, not dollars, not contracts, assurance. The heart changes governments. The branch ceases to be your master. The root becomes your trust. And from that government, action becomes natural. Water when it's time to water. Prune when it's time to prune. Step into the day's work as a steward, not a beggar. Please hear this without trying to memorize it. Live into it. The counting of oranges has its place at harvest. The tending of the root has its place every hour. The 7-minute contact is your return to root, not a demand upon God, not a bargain, not hypnotism consent. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In that consent, the invisible supply is acknowledged, and the visible fruit follows in due season. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Abide. And let the tree life do what tree life does. Now, if we are honest, there is a voice that rises even while we nod at the orange tree. It is the voice that says, yes, yes, root, sap, presence. But if that invoice isn't paid by Friday, then the notice will go out. If this doesn't land by the 15th, then the fee hits. And if the fee hits, then the score drops. And if the score drops, then the door closes. Do you know that voice? It calls itself realism. It calls itself prudence. It is not evil. It is the mind living under cosmic law, under the tyranny of cause and effect, as it has been educated to believe it. If X, then Y. If not X, then penalty. And then fear salutes that government and says, aye, aye. That obedience is the fear mechanism. It is not the bill, not the date. It is the inward consent to be tried and sentenced by appearances. Hidden within it is penalty thinking. I am behind. I am late. I am to blame for that foolish purchase. I will now be punished by numbers. Time is after me. Interest is the rod. The clerk is my judge. The algorithm, my accuser. In other words, we turn creation over to the calendar and worship the ledger as law. And under that law, you must strain, you must deserve, you must pay for yesterday's ignorance out of today's peace. Hear me gently. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. For the law was given by Moses. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. That is not a religious slogan. It is a transfer of government. Under law, cause and effect binds you to your yesterdays and obligates your tomorrows. Under grace, you are brought under a higher order in which right ideas and right openings annul the penalty of yesterday and establish the day in peace. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. No condemnation. The sentence is lifted, not because you argued with the judge, but because you have come under another jurisdiction in a government. Do not misunderstand. Grace is not irresponsibility. We are not saying, throw the bills in a drawer, whistle, and call it faith. No, We are saying, deny the bill's claim to be your power or your source, and return to the I until your heart is no longer ruled by the sheriff of Friday. Out of that contact, you will be led into sane, timely action, sometimes humbling, sometimes surprising, always governable. A call to the very person you feared, and they say, we can extend that date. An idea to cancel a service you do not use. A sale that releases a weight from the closet and from the mind. A correction in your books that reveals you had more than you thought. A forgiveness of a fee. In other words, grace orders your steps without the whip of fear. I have sat with my own ledger and heard the drumbeat. If not by Tuesday, then doom. And I have watched that doom dissolve as I set the paper aside and acknowledged, Father, I don't know the way. It hasn't unfolded to me yet, but thou art my sufficiency in all things. In that moment, something inside changes governments. Urgency loses its throne. Quiet comes first, then movement. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Easy does not mean idle. It means governed from within. Let us expose one more layer. Shame whispers, you did this, you should have known better. That is penalty thought masquerading as virtue. Grace will teach you, yes. It may even correct you, yes, but it will not condemn you. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Apply it to money. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and spend no more, as sleepwalkers do. Awake and be governed. That is grace. It restores sanity first, then timing, then direction. It does not erase your phone. It directs your call. It does not burn your bills. It disarms their authority. So when the mind says, if X doesn't happen by Friday, then Y, let the heart answer, I am not under that government. I abide under grace. Sit your 7 minutes, not to bargain, not to hypnotize, but to consent. Thy kingdom come. And as you rise, you will find that fear has lost its jurisdiction. The same world, the same dates, the same papers, but another government in you. From there, you can do what needs doing calmly, rightly, on time, not to escape a penalty, but to live as steward under grace. Don't try, live it, exemplify it. Let the principle take root and watch cause and effect yield to the order of God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let us be very gentle here, because this will offend the sense test again. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. What the senses report is not creation. It is a picture, a mental image interpreted through thought. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. In other words, the visible scene is the photograph. Spirit is the life. The number on a page is not cause. The notice with a date is not law. The forecast on a screen is not prophecy. They are facts of experience, yes. They are not the presence of God nor the limit of God. We are not denying experience. We are denying its claim to be creator, governor, or judge. Apply this to your next moment of money panic. You open the account, the figure looks lean. You open the mail. A bill stares at you with a date printed like a verdict. Pause. Acknowledge. This is a picture in consciousness, not a power. I am the Lord thy God, not I am the calendar. You don't deny the bill. You deny the bill's claim to be the power or the source. You take the paper in your hand and you turn within. Father, thou art my sufficiency in all things. I don't know the way. It hasn't unfolded to me yet, but I refuse to bow to a picture. In that acknowledgement, you have transferred government, and then we still live our life. We still pay bills. We still make calls. Only now we are not worshiping a number. We are serving God by acting as stewards of forms. A thermometer reports the temperature. It doesn't create the weather. Your ledger reports a condition. It doesn't create supply. Do you see? Under fear, we shake the thermometer and hope the room warms. Under grace, we consent to the fire that never slumbers nor sleeps, and we adjust the room as we are led calmly, rightly, without panic. I can tell you, I have received the red stamp notice and felt it sting, and I have watched it lose its venom the moment I refused its crown. Quiet first, then movement. A call I dreaded, and the voice on the other end said, "We can extend that." An idea to reconcile a line item I had misread, more provision than I believed. A sale of a forgotten thing, not as desperation, but as right order. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Peace first, then the appearing. This is not magic. This is righteous judgment in practice. Remember our principle. There's no matter as substance, no material law as creator. What we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell isn't creation. It is the mental image of creation. God is the substance, the law, the life of all true form. Money isn't supply. I is supply. I embody supply. So, when a forecast darkens or a chart slopes downward, pause and look through. The shadow on the ground cannot withhold the sun. Don't talk to the shadow, face the light. Be still and know that I am God. Not be frantic and hope that I am God. Be still and know this is our practical distinction. Handle the paper, but do not be handled by it. Speak to the person, but do not let their title be your law. Use the tool, but do not make the tool your God. We are learning to look through appearance to substance until action proceeds from peace rather than panic. We walk by faith, not by sight. Faith not as superstition, but as inner contact with the only cause. As that contact settles you, you will find responsibility turning into stewardship, and stewardship into quiet, orderly steps. Don't try, live it, exemplify it. Sit until the heart changes governments. Then rise and do the next right thing, not to appease a picture, but to express the presence that already is your supply. Before we take up the contact itself, let us remove the strain that so often creeps into practice. The point is not to feel mystical. The point is not to manufacture a glow or to produce goose flesh. The point is simply to return to a conscious sense of the I that is already present. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. In other words, strength is not a mood. It is a government felt within. If today your meditation feels like dry ground, do not try to irrigate it with theatrics. Sit, consent, be still, and know that I am God. Not feel, know. If a feeling comes, thank you. If it does not, thank you. The presence is not produced by your feeling. Your feeling is sometimes produced by the presence. Now, let me name the common traps so we can release them without scolding. Affirmations used as bargaining. If I say this verse 50 times, then God will do thus and so. The Master warned us, when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, for your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. Repetition can steady the mind, yes, but bargaining hypnotizes it. Visualizing used as outlining building colored pictures of checks and doors and certain faces saying certain words. That is not grace. That is the mind trying to be architect, contractor, and banker. Meditation used as escape, closing the eyes to avoid a phone call or a conversation that love would actually have you make. All of these are forms of trying to force supply, and they lead to weariness because they put you back under law. Do this to get that. Release them gently, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The true posture is simpler and truer. Receptivity, listening, humility, willingness to be governed. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Say within yourself, I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet, but I am available to grace. That availability is your faith, not the excitement of the senses, not the cleverness of planning availability. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. In other words, rule me, govern this mind, this body, this day. I consent to be lived. I withdraw my consent from fear's jurisdiction and present myself to be used as instrument. Set your expectation aright. The first fruit is often peace, not dollars. If peace is given, the practice has borne fruit. Guard it. Let it govern your next step. The outer form may appear later, and sometimes much later. Do not confuse conception with birth. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. This is a law of unfoldment in spirit. An idea may be conceived in your meditation this morning and may not show its full corn until a week, a month, or a year. You are not waiting in a vacuum. You are gestating in God. When peace comes first, the womb is doing its holy work. How then to sit? Simply take the name I, not as personal ego, but as the presence that said, I am that I am, and rest in it for a moment. If thoughts parade, let them pass as if you were watching a street from a quiet room. You need not push a single one away. You need only refuse to be recruited by them. If a bill flashes, bless it as a piece of paper and return to I. If a plan insists, answer, not my will, but thine, and return to I. If drowsiness comes, let it have a minute. It will pass. The still small voice is not in the wind or in the earthquake. It is the hush that remains when the mind's energies tire of starring in their own play. Do not try. Live it. Exemplify it. Sit until some inner transfer of government is felt, sometimes as a breath that seems to breathe you, sometimes as a loosening in the chest, sometimes as nothing more dramatic than the cessation of argument. Rise only when you can say, I am no longer under the sheriff of Friday. Then do the next right thing, not to force a result, not to make something happen, but to let the already present supply find its form for this hour. If no action is shown, do not invent one. If an action is shown, do not delay it. Your practice is not a lever. It is consent to be consciously governed by the presence that is supply. And as that consent becomes habitual, you will discover that peace is no longer a visitor. It is your government, and forms appear as its lawful citizens. Now let us go together and take the 7 minutes, not as a technique, but as a consent. In the first minute, put the body at ease, feet grounded, hands at rest. Let the breath be ordinary, not deep, not special. Ordinary, the way the sea comes and goes without advertising itself. If fear is nearby, do not examine it. Do not cross-examine it. Merely note it as you would a passerby from a quiet room. I see you, but you are not my authority. If a date shouts, if the sheriff of Friday rattles his key ring, smile inwardly and say again, I see you, but you are not my authority. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and analyze. No. In the second minute, we practice gentle negation to clear the altar. Within, in a slow cadence, say, money isn't supply. Let there be a pause long enough to feel the sentence land without argument. Again, conditions aren't supply. Pause. People aren't supply. Pause. Release each line like a stone dropped in a still pond, watching the ripples settle of their own accord. The things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Let that scripture do the work that your effort cannot. We are not denying form. We are denying their claim to be cause, law, or life. In the third minute, turn to identity. Quietly, without flourish. I is supply. I embody supply. Then add your clarification so the mind does not mistake the ego for God. Not the personal I, not Joel, not Mary, the I that said, I am that I am. Rest there. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. In other words, the I that I am is presence unfolding as the forms of this day, in its own order, by its own law. Repeat softly. I is supply. I embody supply until it ceases to be a statement to believe and begins to be a place to sit. In the fourth minute, invite grace. No bargaining, no outline. Simply, Father, reveal thyself as the substance, the law, and the activity of my life. Then listen. Listen to the silence as if it were speech, because it is. Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Let the surface of the mind ripple if it wants. The deep is listening. If only quiet comes, that is grace beginning its government. If a tear stands, let it. If nothing at all seems to happen, honor the nothing. The still, small voice is often the hush after the winds tire of shouting. In the fifth minute, lay down the architect's pencils. I do not know the channels. I do not need to know. I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. And let that be humility, not helplessness. If pictures parade this friend bringing a check, that employer calling, this sale, closing wave to them kindly and let them pass on. You are not refusing good. You are refusing to outline good. Not my will, but thine be done. The Father knows the way the Father's bread appears. In the sixth minute, receive not fireworks, not spectacle. Receive right idea or only peace. Wait for a simple inward yes, a calm direction, a softening in the chest, or the cessation of argument. That is enough. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Easy does not mean idle. It means governable. Perhaps a very natural step becomes obvious. A call to make, a subscription to cancel, a visit to arrange, a number to reconcile. Perhaps the only step is hold peace and do nothing for now. Either is government. Under cosmic law, you must force. Under grace, you are led. In the 7th minute, seal the recognition, wordlessly if you can, or simply thank you. Let gratitude be consent to ongoing rule. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Sense even a fraction. The transfer of authority, the paper no longer wearing a crown, the date no longer swinging a sword, the algorithm no longer your judge. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Rest there. Do not hurry up to make something happen. Let the seal be a Sabbath in the heart. You will rise when you are ready, and you will do the next right thing, not to gain supply, but to let supply reveal its lawful form. This is how fear loses jurisdiction, not by combat, but by displacement. In conscious contact with the I, the mind comes under grace and becomes governable. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. If today you tasted only a sip of peace, honor that sip. The blade precedes the ear. Return tomorrow and the next, not as one pleading for oranges, but as one abiding in the life of the tree. The fruit will come in its season, and when it comes, you will know it was the life all along. After the silence, do not look for trumpets. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. It is characteristically humble. The first evidence is inward government, not outer spectacle. You may notice the chest softening as if a hand had taken its grip off the heart. You may notice that the drumbeat of Friday steps back. The compulsion to refresh the account, to open the same page 3 times in 6 minutes, loses its teeth. A simple next step stands where a panic used to be: call this person, reconcile that figure, wait until afternoon before doing anything. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. In other words, peace first, then form, government first, then fruit. That hush is supply in its first appearing. Do not measure grace by its volume. We have been trained by emotion to call the loudest thing true. Grace is not always loud. And after the fire, a still small voice. I have sat for 7 minutes and come out without a single sensation worth telling a friend, and then found my hands unhurried, my mind uninterested in checking the ledger, my feet walking to the one task truly given. That is grace. The mind will say, nothing happened. But see what did not happen. The rush did not resume. The eyes did not lunge at the number. The throat did not tighten when you touched the mail. These are the early blossoms of a day under God. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. And about timing, let us take all strain out of it. Unfoldment is law in spirit. First the blade, then the ear. After that, the full corn in the ear. An idea may be conceived in your 7 minutes today and may not be born as a contract until next Tuesday or next season. That is not delay. That is gestation. Impatience is the old sheriff trying to deputize you again. Come on, push it, force it. Prove it by 3 o'clock. The moment you pick up the whip, you have stepped back under cosmic law. Do this to get that. If not this, then penalty. Put the whip down. Let patience have her perfect work. Patience here is not passivity. It is fidelity to the government of grace. You tend the root through contact. You prune as you are shown, and you permit love to manage the hour and the outcome. If you rose and felt nothing, say so, without a wince. I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. That honesty is faith, not failure. It spares you the fatigue of pretending revelation you did not have. Then what? Return tonight for 3 minutes. Return tomorrow for 7. Ask a friend who lives by this principle to stand by in silence for a few minutes while you sit. Do not make a project of yourself. Return as one who trusts the life of the tree more than the count of oranges. Each visit is a seed of government. Even when the soil seems hard, the seed is not complaining. It is waiting for the next rain. Integration is very simple. You rise from the chair and you do the next right thing, governed by the hush. You write the check you can write. You make the call that fear had enlarged into a monster. You set down the phone when nothing is to be done. You clean a room that has been nagging you and find, in order, unexpected release. But you do it without inner groveling to forms. The number on the page is a thermometer. Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Then what? And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Kept hearts make clear steps. Kept minds recognize right doors. If during the day you feel the old pull refresh, fear, rush, pause, and remember the transfer of authority, whisper, I is supply. I embody supply. Not my will, but thine. Touch your chest and feel the softening again, if only a finger's width. That is all it takes to remain under grace. And if it will help, smile at the number as at a child trying on a crown too large. The crown belongs to God. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Let the quiet certainty be enough proof for now. The forms will appear in their wise hour, and when they do, you will recognize them not as the cause of your peace, but as its lawful fruit. After the silence, we do not float, we live. Spiritual realization does not cancel human responsibility. It purifies motive and restores intelligence in action. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, yes, not avoided, not evaded. Render unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. In other words, write the check if it is yours to write. Make the call if it is yours to make. But do it as stewardship under God, not as worship of Caesar. When the heart is under grace, the hand can handle paper without bowing to it. The same envelope on the desk, the same due date on the top line, but another government in you. Let me give you a simple rule of thumb that saves confusion. Act from the quiet place. If the action is driven by terror, pause and return to contact. Fear says, do something, anything now, or else. That is the Sheriff of Friday talking. Peace says, this way, or not yet, or call this person, or reconcile that line. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let peace be the umpire. If you feel the throat tighten while you dial, stop and say inwardly, I is supply. Father, go before me. If the line answers and your peace evaporates, it is no sin to say, may I call you back in an hour, and return to the chair for 2 minutes. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. Better a brief delay under grace than a whirlwind of words under fear that obligate you beyond wisdom. Translate inner contact into outer steps, simply, honestly, without the odor of desperation. Perhaps you are shown to request an extension. Do it plainly, without groveling. Perhaps you are led to renegotiate a rate. You will find the words free of strain. Is there another plan? Perhaps you are to apply for a piece of work you had dismissed. You will notice the reluctance has melted. Perhaps you are to sell a thing that sits unused. It will feel like right order, not loss. Perhaps you are to rest, yes. Rest because no step is given today, and the attempt to invent one would only thicken the fog. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Under grace, strength appears as governable movement, not as drive. Put love into the form. Owe no man anything but to love one another. When you write a check, bless the hand that receives it. When you pay a bill online, let the heart say, thank you, Father, that thy substance appears as power, light, care. When you cannot meet the full amount, do not hide, speak truth in love. Let your communication be, yea, yea. Call and say, here is what I can do today. Here is when I expect to do the rest. You are not pleading. You are stewarding. Very often, more often than you would believe, grace meets you in that honesty. Fees removed, dates adjusted, doors you did not know existed, opened without fanfare. And if not today, then the right idea for tomorrow is conceived in that moment of truth. We must also be free of attachment to channels. The mind selects a single route and then worships it. If that one job doesn't come through, if that one person doesn't pay, if that one sale doesn't close, let that go. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. Grace may use unexpected people, timing, or opportunities. A refund you forgot, a small credit on a service that you double paid, an old client who writes, are you available for a few hours? A neighbor who buys the very thing you were led to set aside, an idea to bundle 2 errands that saves the very fee you feared. Do not outline consent. Not my will, but thine be done. You will find that channels shift and multiply when you stop insisting on a single riverbed. If, in the midst of action, panic rises, do not bully yourself. Pause. One breath. Be still and know that I am God. Return to the government of I. Then continue, or wait, as you are shown. Stewardship is intelligent. It is also kind. It does not make vows in haste or promises in terror. It takes the next right step and only the next, knowing that he leadeth me beside the still waters. And when a step is complete, hang up the phone. Send the note. Let it go. Do not scratch the same spot with repeated checking. Trust the seed planted. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. This is how responsibility becomes stewardship, and fear-driven scrambling dissolves. Contact first, peace as governor, then action clean, timely, unhurried. You will discover that order begins to appear in books and closets and schedules, and with order comes provision. Money isn't supply. I is supply. And as you live this, not try to force it, the forms will show up in their wise hour, and you will recognize them not as your salvation, but as the lawful fruit of a life already under grace. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Render. Reconcile. Release. And let the presence do the works. Let us take up the next tyrant of the mind competition. It is the very child of scarcity thinking, and it breeds hurry, envy, and error. The principle will not flatter the senses. There is no competition in spirit. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. If money were supply, then yes, we would be trapped in slices and charts. But money is a form, not supply. Supply is the indwelling eye that unfolds in due season as form. In other words, what is yours by divine right cannot be taken, and what is not yours cannot bless you, even if you wrest it into your hands. Consider how we were taught to count oranges. We looked over the fence at another tree and said, "He has 50, I have 10. Therefore he is taking my sunlight." You smile now, because you know the life of the tree is not in the fruit you are counting, but in the invisible sap that no fence can stop. One tree's bounty is not the theft of another's. It is proof that the soil is rich and the season favorable. Translate that to your work. A colleague lands a contract. A neighbor's shop fills. Your screen shows someone else's sale. The old sheriff shouts, "There goes your chance. Reject that jurisdiction." A man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. Their success is not your deprivation. It is evidence that the field is alive. Bless it and let it prophesy to you. The life is flowing. I am the life of your tree also. Identity is the pivot. You are not a struggling mortal clawing for a slice. You are the child of God, maintained, sustained, and revealed from within. All that the Father hath is mine. Not mine to hoard, not mine to seize, but mine as the life of the I that I am, appearing as ideas, opportunities, and forms in right timing. When you believe yourself a separate self, you enter the arena under cosmic law, cause and effect, tit for tat, win and lose, and there you will sweat, compare, and scheme. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. Under grace, you leave the arena. You return to the orchard, you tend your root, and you let your supply appear as your form, not another's. In practice, this is very simple. When envy taps you on the shoulder, quietly say, "Love envieth not." Then bless the one who appears to be ahead. Father, thy life is his life. Thy life is my life. I is supply. I embody supply. Feel the transfer of government. You have just withdrawn consent from the jurisdiction of scarcity. You will notice, and almost at once, less noise in the mind. Comparison loses its oxygen. Discernment sharpens. Instead of chasing their road, you are shown your path. One person is led to deepen a small, faithful niche others overlook. Another receives a right idea to refine a service instead of expanding it. Another is guided to step out of a line that never was theirs and discovers a door no one else queued for. Under grace, decisions become clean because you are no longer in combat. At work, stop reading faces for approval as if your bread were in their hands. Cease ye from man, whose breath is in his nostrils. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. You still write the proposal. You still show up on time, but you do it as stewardship, not worship. If a promotion passes you by, do not bite the hook of grievance. Ask within, is there another field, another form, another hour? Often the answer is a wiser fit than the one you coveted. And if it is truly yours, it will circle back in a time and a form that bless beyond the original outline. What is not yours cannot bless you. What is yours cannot be withheld. Let me be clear. Celebrating another's good is not pious nicety. It is intelligent loyalty to principle. Each time you bless instead of compare, you prove that supply is individual unfoldment from within, not a prize won by defeating your brother. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. In other words, even surrounded by rivalry's noise, your table is set from within. You eat because I is supply, not because you elbowed your way to the head of the line. So, the next time the market surges for someone else or the office buzzes with another's win, pause. Return to contact. Whisper. I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. Father, reveal thy way. Bless their fruit as confirmation of the season. Then tend your root. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Withdraw from the arena and walk the orchard. As you do, you will find the old habits, envy, comparison, anxious mimicry falling off in their place. Quiet confidence, clearer choices, right relationships, and then, without trumpet or scramble, the forms that are yours appear at your tree, ripe, sweet, and unmistakably your own. Now, sometime it will return at 2 a.m. Do not make a problem out of that. Nobody I know, and certainly not I, lives in unbroken daylight. The difference now is this. You do not go back to the old helplessness. You are not at the mercy of a number or a date. He that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. In other words, while your senses are startled awake by shadows, the presence that governs you has not dozed, has not left its post. Fear is only the mind remembering its old master, cosmic law, with its cause and effect threats. Smile gently. We are moving out from the law into grace, even here. Do not wrestle with it. Do not argue a single point. Arguing keeps you under its jurisdiction. You don't conquer fear by fighting it. You dissolve it by withdrawing consent and returning to the I. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and calculate. Not be still and invent speeches. No. If the old sheriff rattles his keys, interest due. Notice, mailed, Friday coming, answer once. Kindly. You are not my authority. Then turn from the window. Here is a short standing by practice for the night, 60 to 90 seconds. Put one hand lightly on the chest, as if to acknowledge the throne of government within. Whisper, really whisper, so the body hears it. 2, money isn't supply. I is supply. Pause. Let that land. Again, without force. Money isn't supply. I is supply. 3 quiet breaths now, ordinary, unadvertised. With each exhale, imagine consent being given back to God. Then, with the softest voice of the heart, say, Thy grace is sufficient. Again, Thy grace is sufficient. And once more, bringing it home, Thy grace is sufficient for me. If a verse arises, let it join you. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Or fear thou not, for I am with thee. That is enough. Turn on your side. If sleep comes, let it take you. If not, remain with the hush, not as one trying to make something happen, but as one consenting to be governed. If the mind surges again, simply repeat the first line once. Money isn't supply. I is supply. And then thy grace is sufficient. Do not add to it. Do not begin to plan, to total, to rehearse. Those are the old tools of law. Lay them down, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. In that minute of consent, the jurisdiction changes. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. This touch of grace at 2 a.m. is as real as any you will know at noon. And if even then the heart still pounds, this is the hour to let the fellowship serve you. If you have a practitioner, a teacher, or a mature friend in the work, send a short word. Please stand by with me. Not to fix, not to advise, to witness truth with you. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Ask them to hold the silence. Money isn't supply. I is supply. Thy grace is sufficient. I have done this many times at midnight, at dawn, and more often than not, before any reply arrives, the pressure subsides, because you have stepped into the circle of grace. The standing by is not a technique. It is shared consent to the same government. Guard against the one temptation that undoes the whole minute. Picking up the ledger, opening the account, crafting emails in your head. That is mental wrestling. It wakes the sheriff. If you must rise, drink a small glass of water, read a single line, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety and return to the hush. Perfect love casteth out fear, not by force, but by filling the room. If you wake again, do the same little practice. No strain, no bargaining, just standing by. Each time you do, you prove to yourself that even in the dark, the light governs. By morning, you will often find the edge gone, the next step simple, or nothing required at all. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Withdraw consent from fear's jurisdiction. Return to the I and let grace keep watch while you sleep. We can close the circle now. You have seen it. Money is a form, not the life. The presence is the substance. What the senses counted and feared was never the cause. What governs is the indwelling, I unfolding as form in its hour. You have met the old sheriff cosmic law handing you cause and effect ultimatums, and you have felt, if only for a breath, the higher government of grace moving in without fanfare. Contact has proved to be the hinge. Be still and know that I am God. Not think about God. Know. In that knowing, even the sip, the paper lost its crown. Friday dropped its sword, and you stood a free man, a free woman, under a government not made with hands. The law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. We are moving gently out from law into grace. Do not look for fireworks to certify it. Look for the quiet evidences that you have touched the principle. You will notice more patience in the timing of things. Less lunging at the ledger, less compulsion to solve Thursday with Tuesday's strength. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. You will notice clearer ideas, arriving without sweat, one step you can take cleanly, an unnecessary subscription that can be released, a conversation you can have without tremor. You will find fewer impulsive financial moves, less buying to soothe, less promising to appease, more willingness to say, I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. And to let that honesty keep you under grace. A kinder view of yourself will appear, not indulgence, but mercy. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. You will recognize an openness to new channels. You stop worshiping one riverbed and begin to bless the rain. And you will feel a softening, sometimes no more than a finger's width in the chest where urgency used to sit. Let us make a simple, livable commitment, not as a test, but as consent. For 7 days, keep one 7-minute contact period, not as magic, not as willpower. Sit once each day and let the same principle take root. Money isn't supply, I is supply. Father, reveal thyself as the substance, the law, and the activity of my life. Do not try to get results. Don't try. Live it, exemplify it. If on a given day you come away with nothing but quiet, let the quiet be your bread. If a day gives you a single clean step, take that step without parade. If a day seems barren, say, first the blade, then the ear, and return tomorrow. The seed does not argue about the season, it consents to be governed. As you do this, you will find a steadiness that does not depend on figures or forecasts. You will pay what is yours to pay, you will speak what is yours to speak, and you will leave what is not yours to the one whose government you have acknowledged. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. What will he bring to pass? The appearing of supply as right ideas, right timing, and right forms no longer worshipped, simply used. And if, after all, the waves still slap at your door, hear this reassurance. You have touched something irreversible, conscious oneness. Nobody who has truly tasted the hush returns unchanged to the old jurisdiction. You may wobble, you will not be what you were. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. That peace, even in a thimbleful, is the government of your day. Let the principle take root through daily contact, and the outer experience will unfold from an inner life that is already supply. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Walk out now, not to get supply, but to let supply reveal itself as the fruit of the tree whose life you have consented to trust.